Okay, the final video for this week, lesson 90 word problems with two statements of equality. These are a lot easier than the last lesson that we did. I think you're more familiar with them. There's more examples though. And I'm really glad I'm doing this on video because I would not want to write these on the whiteboard. So let's get started. These are going to have two variables, but there's no value equation. So together, Charles and Nell picked 92 quarts of berries. If Charles picked 6 more quarts than Nell picked, how many quarts did they each pick? So we have the number that Charles picked, we'll call that NC, and the number of Nell picked, we'll call that N sub N. Together they picked 92 quarts. So the number that Charles picked plus the number that Nell picked equaled 92, one equation. If Charles picked 6 more quarts than Nell picked. So the number that Charles picked is not equal to the number that Nell picked. Charles picked 6 more. So this side of the equation would actually be heavier at this point because there's more on his side. So to keep our equation balanced, we're going to be adding 6 to Nell's side. So the number Charles picked, he picked 6 more than Nell, so we have to add the 6 onto Nell's side. Then once we get our two equations, you can use substitution or elimination. So this one, we could easily do substitution. So number that Nell picked, we're just substituting all of this in for that, plus, you can see how everything builds. You need to know everything previous to these lessons to be able to do this lesson. At least know how to solve systems of two equations. So we get 2 number that Nell picked equals 92 minus 6 would be 86. And number that Nell picked is 43. And so the number that Charles picked is 6 more than Nell picked. So it would just be 43 plus 6 is 49. I don't think we'll find these too difficult. This is the hardest equation right here to write. Let's do the next one. The number of boys in Sarah's class exceeded the number of girls by 7. If there were a total of 29 pupils in the class, how many boys and how many were girls? So we have number of boys, or two variables, number of boys and number of girls. The total number of pupils in the class were 29. So the number of boys plus the number of girls, I'm just doing the easiest one first, equals 29. The number of boys were more than the number of girls by 7. So the number of boys equals the number of girls. They're not equal. There's more boys than girls. So to keep our equation balanced, we have to add the 7 to the girls, and now they're equal amounts on each side. So again, we just do substitution. Number of girls, I'm not sure what's different about this one than the other ones. Number of girls plus 7 plus the number of girls equals 29. 2 times the number of girls equals 21. Okay. I must have added something wrong here. 2 times the number of girls . 2 times the number of girls, and I'm subtracting 22. Duh. Okay, my pen keeps disconnecting. Hold on a second. There we go. Okay, it's 22. Number of girls is 11. And so the number of boys would be 7 plus 11 is, now I'm really losing my mind, is 18. And so that's all you have to do. I don't even think they do substitution in the problems in the book. I'll have to see how they do them. Okay, Philip cut a 38-meter rope into 2 pieces. The long piece was 9 meters longer than the short piece. So we're going to let L equal the long piece, and we're going to let S equal the short piece. The rope started out 38 meters, so the long piece plus the short piece equals 38. And the long piece was 9 longer than the short piece, so we have to add it to the shorter piece. And then we just do substitution. S plus 9 plus S equals 38. 2S equals, subtract 9, we get 27. Having trouble subtracting today, aren't I? Too many classes in one day. So anyway, should be 29, duh. Okay, and we're going to divide that by 2, and we get the short piece is 14.5 meters. Now they don't specify, just keep in mind that sometimes you can have fractions. So if the short piece was 14.5, the long piece is going to be 9 inches longer, so just add 9 to that, and we get 23.5 meters. So that's the rope kind of problems. The rope kind of problems, you have to keep in mind what the beginning part of the size of the rope was, and then the long piece and short piece adds up to the whole rope. Alright, let's move on to the next one. Example 4. Hold on a second. There's 5 examples. The sum of two numbers is 72. The difference of the numbers is 26. What are the numbers? Okay, the thing with number problems is you have to let L equal the larger number, or greater, whatever you want to call it. This is our greater number, because you don't want to be subtracting the greater number from the smaller number. Greater and smaller. So you have to designate which variable is the larger and which is the smaller. So the sum of two numbers, so the greater plus the smaller equals 72. The difference, now here's the key, you have to write down which one is the bigger one. If you use G, you know it's the bigger one. The difference, you always want to do the bigger one minus the smaller one, is 26. Otherwise you would get a negative number, and it's not a negative number. Now you just use your elimination. 2G equals 98. Divide by 2, and you get 49. So the greater number is 49. That means that the smaller number is 23. Okay, last problem is probably the most difficult one. The greater of two numbers is 16 greater than the smaller. So we use G for greater, and S for smaller again. You don't have to write this out, but I'm just doing it for this problem. Okay, the greater number, so the greater number is 16 greater than the smaller. So it's going to be the greater number is a smaller plus 16. When added together, so when the greater number is added to the smaller number, their sum, just making sure that I did all the problems here. Oops, I skipped the problem. Oh well. Their sum is 4 less than 3 times the smaller. So their sum is 4 less than 3 times the smaller. So I like to write it like this. 3 times the smaller minus 4. 4 less than 3 times the smaller. This one's a little bit more complicated. Then we can just use substitution and solve it. So we get smaller. I'm going to take this and substitute it in down here. Smaller plus 16 plus the smaller equals 3 times the smaller minus 4. And then we're going to combine 2 times the smaller plus 16 equals 3 times the smaller minus 4. And we get, if I subtract the smaller from both sides, 2 smaller, so we get smaller equals 20. And then we can get the greater is 16 more than that. By adding 16, we would get 36 equals the greater. Let me just see if we should do the last one. Yep, we're going to have to do one more problem. Sorry about that. It's ended up being a long lesson. Here we go. I'm going to type it in as you watch. So this is example 6. The ratio of two numbers is 5 to 4. And the sum of the numbers is 63. What are the numbers? Okay, this is a ratio word problem. So it says the ratio of numbers is 5 to 4. So you have number 1 and you have number 2. The ratio of number 1 to number 2 is 5 to 4. The sum of number 1 plus number 2 equals 63. We have two equations. Now we're going to cross multiply. And we're going to get 4 number 1s equals 5 number 2s. And then we can substitute. I'm going to take and solve this one for number 1 and get 63 minus number 2. And then I'm going to substitute this in for the number 1s. So 4 times 63 minus number 2 equals 5 times number 2. And we get 4 times 63 is 252. Minus 4 times number 2 equals 5 times number 2. And then I'm just going to add 4 number 2's to that side. 252 equals 9 number 2's. And I'm going to divide that by 9. Hopefully I'm not going too fast for you. And we get n sub 2 equals 28. So that's our one number, and then our other number, number 1, is 63 minus 28, which would be 35. So if you keep in mind two equations, two unknowns, these shouldn't be too difficult. So that's it for our lessons for the week, and it's it for lesson 90.